Morning, guys. Just wanted to touch on the subject of willpower and mentality this morning. I get asked quite often, how do you stay on track? How do you keep your focus all year round, kind of thing? And the answer is I don't particularly. I keep my focus on certain aspects, so my training never suffers. Don't get me wrong. I might have a period where I'm tired and I don't want to train. I'm quite good with that aspect of it, saying, do you know what, let's just get in and train. The session's going to be, even if the session's half-arsed, at least I've got in there and done it. I am quite good at that, unless I am beat up and very tired, and I will take rest, because rest is definitely a massively underrated thing. I'll only train 4 to 5 days a week on weights. Cardio is different. I think you can get away with doing cardio a lot more, but weights, if you're training hard enough, if you can train six plus days a week, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see how hard your sessions are and how intense your sessions are, because that certainly wouldn't be something that I'd be able to do. But that's another subject. I will talk about rest on another video. But in terms of willpower, and how do I stay focused with the training? We'll start on the training. I am very much one of those people that needs to beat the bests all the time. I'm very competitive with myself, and if I go into a workout, I need to know that the next workout I go into was harder, or I've beaten my reps, or I've beaten a lift, whether it be better form for the same amount of reps, more controlled, whether I've beaten the weight, whether I've across the whole workout done a tiny bit more volume, whether I've pulled the volume back and increased the strength. Something has got to be an improvement for me, and that's how I judge and measure my progress. So if I look back at my logbook from 2 months ago, I'd like to think that for argument's sake, push session, I'd like to think I've progressed. And if I haven't, then I've just been wasting my time. So that's how I keep my mentality in order for that. I do really recommend a logbook with your training, no matter what you're doing, whether you're running, and be as accurate as you can. Say you've done a set, and you've got through a full set, and you think, I've done that pain-free, I've not had any niggles or anything, that's brilliant. Note it down. I've done that set really easily, that were really good. I've still failed at the end of it, but it just felt smooth. Oh, that set felt a bit grindy, let's write that down. You need to be really, really consistent with your logbook. Even things like, right, I trained in the morning this time, I trained in the night this time. Things like this, you need to know as much as you can about your training as you can, and this will really help your willpower, because you end up getting so how can I put it, you end up getting so bothered about beating everything all the time. Little things like knowing where your exercise was in the selection. So say for argument's sake you're doing your squat third, and you have a few weeks where you haven't been able to beat your PB, just move it up to second. It's a different set of PBs then, or even move it further down the line and set a different set of PBs, knowing that, right, these are my PBs when I've been fatigued and I'm at the end of my session. These are my PBs when my squat's at the forefront of the session. There's loads of ways of measuring your training. Don't change your training up just for the sake of it. I don't change my training. My training will be the same for the next 6 months, for the next 12 months. There might be a few exercise selections different. I might throw the odd drop set in at the end of certain stuff, but as a rule, the base of my training will not change. People change the training too often. Change certain aspects of it, as in, try beat certain stuff, try, push more volume, try bring, like I said before, bring the volume back, push the strength up. There's loads of different ways, but the actual basis of your training, find a method and go for it and get good at it. People change before they've got good at it. you'll see people saying, I've pulled deadlifts out this week. Why? Why have you pulled them out? Get strong at them. Get strong at the fundamental lifts. You know, you get strong at these lifts and you can guarantee that you will put muscle mass on. But you've got to be consistent. You really have. And that's where willpower and mentality does come in. So that's first things first for training. Get a logbook and beat your bests. And once again, reiterating that, whether that be beating your reps, beating the form, or beating the weight, or volume to some extent. But I do like doing less volume in order to really push those sets out. And also making sure that your intensity in your sets is really up there. You know, you want to be feeling. You want to be at the stage where you can't finish a rep, ideally, because that's how you stimulate muscle growth. Anyway, on to the next bit. So willpower in terms of diet. Now this is a lot harder, I think. I think the training... Hang on, let me have a bloody slurp of me, Joe. I think willpower on diet is a really tough thing. And these people that say, you know, treat your off-season like your prep. Yes, to an extent I believe in it. Even my own coach does this. But you've also got to question why you're doing something. So I'm aware that I'm never going to be a professional bodybuilder. I do this for two reasons, the bodybuilding aspect. I enjoy competition, so I used to be a powerlifter. I used to enjoy training for that. I enjoy the lifestyle to a degree, but not wholeheartedly. If you're going to be a professional, that's when you've got to throw everything at it. If you're doing it and you're kind of doing it for fun, doing it for my job so that my clients know that I've been to the pits. I've been to that stage where my body fat's that low that I'm narky. You know, I've got no energy. I've worked that hard. I know I've trial and errored so many things. So that's one of the reasons I do it. But it doesn't make me a it does make me a living, but it isn't the sole thing. You know, I could still do my personal training and not do that. So that's when you've got to establish how much of it you want to throw at it, because I can throw 100% into a prep, but in my off season I've got to be a little bit slacker. I've got to allow myself a couple of drinks on a weekend, a cheat meal here and there. I've got to do, because if I don't do that, there's no way that I will be able to do that, because that isn't a lifestyle that I want to live. I think a lot of people follow the wrong people. So they make things unrealistic for themselves. One, they follow people who are totally a different shape to them. You know, the makeup's totally different. I've done it myself. You know, it's like me following bloody Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know, he's a genetic freak. He's built totally different to me. So I'm better off comparing myself to, for argument's sake, I like watching a guy called Rob Taylor. He's absolutely massive. But he's a short guy, kind of my sort of height, so that's my inspiration. You know, I like how he lives, for argument's sake. I follow him on Instagram. He'll have cheat meals with his family. You know, he lives a normal life. He's not one of these bodybuilders that everything's by the book, every meal's by the book. I'm not going to do that. I don't expect my clients to do that. So, on to the willpower question. How do I do it? I don't always, as I say, I'll come off on a weekend and I'll do what I want, I'll enjoy my time, but I do always make sure that my meals are in. So in my head, one thing that I will set out when I go into a weekend, even if it's going to be bad food, I make sure that I'm still hitting those 6 meals, because that's what keeps my routine. So the way that I keep my willpower is keeping that routine. So I'll still get up in the morning, I'll still try to get out for my walk, I'll still have my porridge, because I enjoy porridge in the morning. That's my favourite breakfast anyway, so I'll choose that. There's no point deviating for that. For dinner, I might have something a tiny bit different, but it'll still have my chicken in there. I might have pita, I might have a wrap, a bagel, whatever I fancy, but I'll kind of keep my macros around what they are normally, maybe a little bit different. But then when it gets to kind of tea time, I might be 4 meals deep by then. I will order a takeaway. You know, me and Amy and Alfie will order maybe a pizza from the local pizza place, or you know, whatever. Order some dessert, get some chocolate, and I will have the time off. But then before bed, I'll still have meal 6. So I suppose my way of keeping my willpower is by keeping my routine. So by creating that routine, it kind of helps you create the willpower with your diet. So another thing as well, but before I move on from that, is don't beat yourself up. This is one thing I do massively. I'll get to a Monday morning, and I'll have had a weekend of maybe eating off plan, and I will beat myself up. And I think that is a bad mentality. And what I've done in the past is, as soon as I've got to that stage, on a Monday, I've kind of, I don't do this now, by the way, but I'll starve myself for argument's sake. I won't eat, get my meals in, and I have done this in the past where I haven't eaten until 12 o'clock, and I'd never do that normally. So one thing I would say is try not to be guilty. You know, treat every day the same. But if you do slip off that plan, it's not a problem. Just carry on. This is a lifestyle. This is I know I keep banging on about this, but this is a lifestyle. It's not to be hated. You know, if it's Monday afternoon and you fancy having some fish and chips, have some fish and chips. Don't binge on them. Have them, and then get back to plan. And I think knowing that your diet's not a death sentence will definitely help you keep your willpower and keep that mentality lasting longer. And this goes back again to my previous video about these companies that don't have any deviation from the plan. So if you know that you've got to go on a Monday to Friday, you have got to eat strictly on this plan and that's it. You've got to question why you're doing that. This goes back to what I was just saying. Why are you doing that? Are you a pro bodybuilder? You know, does your life need to be that anal where you've got to eat chicken and salad and you've got to do this and that? So there's a fine line. There really is a fine line. It's getting that. It really is getting that balance, and this is why I will include on every one of my clients' plans foods that I would want to eat myself, and that's how I find that willpower is more sustainable. And it's not just a matter of, oh yes, I had great willpower for 2 weeks, but then I lost it and my motivation went. Everyone does lose motivation, but if your motivation is falling more than it's there, you've not set out your diet right. So just reiterating back on that, lifestyle and routine for me is how you create willpower with diet, and not feeling guilty when you do go off plan. You know, I like my clients to go off plan. I think it's important, but I like them to have control over the off plan bit, because that's definitely something that I've done in the past, still doing now to a degree. You know, this weekend just passed, I've drunk too much beer, and I do feel a little bit guilty. I'm not gonna lie, I do feel a little bit guilty about that. My best weekends are when like I've said to you on previous videos, when my cheats have been things that aren't really cheats, but foods that I enjoy. And I do plan on this weekend coming doing this, where I might order a Cafe Passion or a Timogen, or I don't know, have a healthy burger and homemade chips. And that's not a dirty meal in my opinion. And I do always feel better for doing that. So it's really, I think the whole thing with that, with willpower mentality and everything, is, as I say, just creating that lifestyle, creating that routine, and when you do deviate off it, don't feel guilty about it. And yeah, I think that's pretty much everything covered. The only other thing actually before I do go is in terms of phases for willpower. So my willpower is always at the highest when I'm, say, prepping for a photo shoot or prepping for a show. So if you set yourself that 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 16 weeks, no matter whatever it is, that's your period of dieting. That's the period where changes are coming all the time. You know, you're looking in the mirror every morning, you're seeing different changes, you're sending your check-ins off to your coach, and you're seeing changes all the time. So willpower, I think, in prep and when you're dieting for a holiday, I find is so much easier to come by. Whereas in an off-season, for argument's sake, which is where I encourage a lot of my clients to be for... When I talk off-season, by the way, I'm just talking everyday life. This is when you're not specifically dieting for something. So this period where I like my clients to sit the majority of the year, this is hard for willpower to stay constantly, because you're not seeing those changes that you're seeing when you're in a fat loss period. You're looking for different things. You're looking for chest growth, your shoulders development, your legs. For ladies, they're looking for the bum to look bigger, but as soon as their bums look bigger, all of a sudden they're thinking, it's fat though, it's fat. And it's kind of training your mind actually to look for different stuff. And again, this is why I have a coach, and this is why I encourage my clients to send check-ins, because it's my eyes that are looking at these pictures. So I've had it before. Oh, Chris, I've put 2 pounds on this week, and I've looked at the check-in, and this is a common occurrence, and it'll look head and shoulders better than last month's check-in or even last week's check-in, and I can see that. But the client will punish themselves if they weren't to send this picture over. And I never lie. I'm not going to look and think someone's looking fat or fatter than the week before and say to them, oh yeah, you're looking better. I'm not. That's counterproductive. So the relationship that I have with my client is that I am 100% honest. And believe me, there's a lot of them that will stand there and tell you I can be too honest at times. But I've built that relationship up now, so that now my clients know that I don't bullshit them. When I get that check-in in, I will tell them what I see. So that's my way of keeping your willpower in your normal phases or your off seasons. One, look for different things, like look for growth of muscles. Don't just be focusing on the things that you're going to be focusing on in your fat loss period. So don't be focusing on necessarily your belly, your abs. Try focus on bum, legs, chest, back, all these sort of things. And 2, get a coach. And that's not me promoting myself. Get a coach or someone that you trust that can look over. Don't just go by the scales. There's too many variables with scales. I do like my clients to weigh. I think it's important to know. But the main thing, and it always will be, is visual. And if you've got a bad body image, again, get a coach. You don't have to look at them pictures even. Take them, screenshot them. Try not to even look, just send them on. Because that opinion from that person that you can trust is going to keep you on plan and keep your willpower higher for longer. I think I've covered everything really. I've covered not comparing yourself to unrealistic things. Women are really bad for that. If you're a naturally curvy person, do not compare yourself to that model that's naturally skinny. And vice versa. Find people that are relatable to you. Find people whose lifestyles are relatable to you. If there's someone whose lifestyle is eating chicken and veg all the time, and you're one of these people that which is a totally normal thing to do, you're one of these people who like to have a meal with your family, like to have drinks with your family, like to go out with your friends, then don't compare yourself to that person's lifestyle, because that's just pointless. It's just comparing apples to bananas. It's just not. It's not the same thing. So I think being really, really aware of who your motivation lies with is a massive, massive must. I think, yes, choose these people who you want to look like. That's important, but be realistic. Lads, this is another one. They'll say to me, I want to look like him. What do you think? Now, this is a problem with the media in general, to be honest. My question at that point is, are they on steroids or not? Are they using performance enhancing drugs? Are they natural? Not that I have a problem with either, by the way. That do not think for 1 minute I have a problem with people who decide to be natural or people who decide to not be natural. But be realistic. If you're not willing to take steroids, then don't be comparing yourself to that guy who does take steroids, because you're setting yourself up to never achieve that goal, and that's just how you create a bad mentality towards where you're going, and you're never going to stick to things. So I think just being realistic, be really realistic with who you use for your motivation, and that'll 100% help your mentality and your mindset. So yeah, I hope this has helped. I try to touch on as many things as I can. I always forget things, and I always sit after and think, oh shit, I wish I'd have said that. So if you do hear me repeating myself quite often, it's because I'm quite passionate about that side of things. So yeah, message me if you have any further questions about this, and subscribe to my page as well. I'm trying to build it. I'm not going to bombard it all the time. I know I did quite a few videos early on and just did them every few days, but probably do 1 or 2 a week and just keep things fresh. And if you do want any topics discussing as well, inbox me and I'll make sure that I do that for you. But yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. Let's crack through this week and smash it. Have a good one, guys. Cheers.